So thank you very much that you are here with me today. I want to talk with you about production How Soon Is Now. Before we do that, I would really like to have a short round of introductions. I don't know if you decide who wants to start.
Okay, my name is Andrea Dotter, and I'm a piece of this How Soon Is Now production, and I'm a piece of the Citizens Project. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, my name is Luca Fritsch, and I was leading the Citizens Project, where she was part. Is.
My name is Olivia Grasso, and I'm a performer in How Soon Is Now.
I'm Caroline Stechler, and I'm the artistic director and choreographer of the production.
I'm Tati, I'm also a dancer of the Citizen Project.
Yeah, and I'm Sabine Noll, and I'm the dance dramaturg in this production, and I also did the conception together with Caroline.
Thank you very much. Well, I was trying to ask the first question so well, how soon is now? But probably start a bit more on an overarching level. So what is this piece? What is this production for you? Also, how do you view the current situation, global crisis? Like, how do you decide to take part of it? So it's your general impression of the whole thing. Anyone wants to share any thoughts?
I start.
Good.
So for me, especially that whole process was the first tryout or research how we feel actually in that moment of having a lot of things going on, and especially from our perspective here. And in the individual, like how do we feel, what emotions are coming up, and to research with them together with the dancers and the performers.
For me, it was a very surprise when I saw this flyer. They were looking for citizens to take part in the project, and I read this text and I thought, wow, what is this? Apocalypse, being stuck, paralyzed. And I thought, well, are they talking about me? My life? Oh, I feel stuck and without any orientation. But all together with dance. I'm always dancing, Chinese, Spanish, whatever, Indian. And I had to go there. I had to be part of this, and it really felt like, well, I'm playing my life with all these thoughts. What do I do to save the environment? Do I go cycling? Is this enough? Or not? Or what else can I do? How can I move others? I'm stuck so often, I'm feeling paralyzed, I have no power, and I can't move forward or backwards. And that was just the way to express.
So you're talking a lot about these well, probably overwhelming feelings, and also a very complex topic, a very deep topic. So the follow-up question would be, how do you translate, I don't know if that's the right word, translate this topic or this topic area into a dance production on the planning level, but also when you decided how do you perform, like how do you take this topic into your own planning of your own performance? So maybe you could start.
Yeah, I think with the planning, it's like if we are writing a concept, we have a very deep research about the themes, because usually when we start, we are and this was also how we found you about our research, and then getting deeper, we found out that the most important thing for this theme here is that we are on a democratic level. This is the base of it all, which means the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts of people are on a big range, and it's very necessary for us to build something, a piece where we allow to keep this level. So we didn't want to go for a clear thought at the end of the piece. So yeah, for us it was necessary to build an environment where whoever is with us in the process, that we are looking for these thoughts, or maybe we have to, during the production, we have to go a bit there and a bit there. Of course, there are limits. I mean, we had to start, where is it, how is the room? But, so in the planning, it was clear that the audience, because if you're talking about us, the audience needs to be involved. So this is the best thing is, so you get them off a ritual place, so the audience room, and just put them right into the piece, so that they're a lot more near, and they have to either decide how much I'm in, they look around, they see the other sitting next to them, they can feel, okay, this is mine. So this was just some basis, and then it was clear for us that we are going to have, we put out an application for citizens in Freiburg. And of course, because it was for us, we are used to have citizen projects, but usually made with citizens and not together with profi. So it was something in between. So we also asked people who have dance experiences, but also it was open for people without any, which makes maybe you have a different role in this piece, but you were offered to give all your images and all your thoughts into it. So I think these are two big things in the plannings to give the whole thing a base of where we want to go, what we want to reach.
Let me ask a follow-up question to you, because you just mentioned that. This inclusion of citizens, you also probably very likely have dance experience, and professional dancers, combining them into this piece, especially with this topic that addresses the question of individual responsibilities, collective responsibilities. So how was that process for you, but also then for you who participated in it?
Yes, I think our process was a little bit probably different than to Caroline's with the professional dancers, the performers, because we just had a bit less time. But we were in a good exchange before, so I was already visiting the rehearsals, I got also into the content. And then for our rehearsals with the citizens, it was the most important for me that the citizens have a chance from beginning on to have an own connection to the topic. Because I think it's very hard to dance and perform in a project where you connect to, know really what is your own story, especially if you're not a professional dancer, I think it's hard. So we started actually the first weekend in our rehearsals really with mind maps doing, I brought some newspapers with, they could take their own catching headline with which they could really connect very well with own maybe memories or I don't know, associations, feeling wise, and with that we started actually to go within that piece. And we created a bit own material, which I put it a little bit together. And we learned also some steps from Caroline's to combine really all these performers, because it's not so easy, especially if you rehearse in two different places, in two different times. But I think it was a really nice process to create something by their own or by our own, and then to also get something which they could learn. So it was a mix. Yeah,
for me it was the most interesting part of it, to be integrated into the creative process, to develop own movements, to come together in a group, doing group movement, growing kind of together in a kind of network. I never had this experience before. I've been doing choreographies, line dance kind of stuff, or couple dance, but this natural, organic growing together process was most interesting for me.
How was it for you?
Yes, for me it's really new, such a process, to be a part of this. And it was a short time, but it was a very deep time, deep in my heart. For the rest of my life, it's changed something in me, and I'm very thankful that I can be a part of this. And we are so close together. The people, I knew them for 5 weeks only, but we are so near. and I think they are friendships for the rest of my life, maybe. And yes, it's for me a help because I think there are a lot of small kind of apocalypses in families in this time, or the young generation of this feeling. So I have learned something from me, what I can put in my own family, for my own children. We are talking to each other, and it opens my mind, and yes, it's very great.
May direct the question to you. So as a professional dancer, you probably had to feel into a lot of different topics in your career, and you're very, very different things. So was this any different from that? How did you approach the topic and your own feelings on all these potentially aspects?
Well, I remember the first day. Sometimes obviously we received the topic as well, the conversation a bit like general topic, and the first day we arrived in the studio, we didn't really know the dancers. It was a new team, so obviously sometimes you have always a bit that unknown. Obviously, you don't know with who you're going to work and everything. But the first thing is we had a safe space as well to approach a very delicate subject where everyone has a very different opinion on that, and I think it was brought very safe in the sense of we were able to be quite vulnerable or open with our own opinions, and I think that's very important. And when I hear as well, when we started melting also the groups, it was all the way through the process, so I wanted to outline that first. But the first day we arrived, the first question was how do you feel about those many crises around you? And you just arrive and you're great. I don't know. Wait, I need to do my research. But this is actually a subject that we talk every day around us, topic you have with your family, friends, politics. And it was such a broad question that you're I don't know where to start, I don't know the people, I don't know what they want to hear, I don't know what I'm allowed to say, But because this safe place was installed, and sometimes you're just am I just gonna move? But then what I really enjoy also in the art is this research process, this conversation, this putting ideas together, giving up some ideas as well, because you can't choose everything, and that's life. But also this collaborative process helps you to understand about yourself, about the topic that you're actually researching, which is quite a hard topic and project then. Because it's very personal, because it's our society now, and we're all involved in that. And then you have to speak for yourself, but also you don't know all the time. So when you have this question that approach you, you're just that. The first thing in my head was I don't know. But then it allowed us to write, we wrote, we shared, and what was very interesting with the 3 different performers, we all have a different approach to that question. Someone was more involved in the political side, personally I was more in the emotional and more centered on my self-emotions, and someone else was a bit more broadened into the general feeling, social feeling. So this already, it's very different. And then we had to transform that into movement and research with all those conversations, and it was a very interesting process to work and with conversation and with movement, because this is also a conversation we can get. It's a communication.
I found it very interesting that quite often you mentioned research, and this leads to my next question. So one would assume, and probably falsely assume, that arts and performances are primarily about aesthetics, about emotions. And also, of course, there's a background story. You mentioned the research, and you all in the production took it a step further. You contacted us and said, hey, we actually wanted to do our own research, but also include researchers. So what role does this play for you? What do you hope to get out of that? And also, what do you think about this inclusion of the short scientific talk commentary in the discussion after the piece, how did you perceive it the last time? So maybe about the concept and
before I answer that one, I just want to add one more thing. It brought me back to our idea why we chose then Sabine and me to ask for more people to open it up to citizens, because we felt this topic needs more opinions, it needs more people to be involved, which has also an answer to you, what is the research. To invite quite from the beginning more people to take part with their opinions, and we chose a very heterogeneous group. So some of them, they never danced before also, like it's a very heterogeneous group because we said before some, and they probably have dance experience, but no, they're very different also from the background, also from the age, like we have 18 years old girl participating, and then we have an older lady also 74, in the beginning she was still there. So we were looking for a group that is kind of a small representation of our society, you know, that we can start, as Olivia was also explaining, we can start by asking kind of very personal questions after having built that safe space and going for personal opinions. We use a lot of instant writing, we call it, so you just write without using a lot of brain, just going from your intuition. Before we would then go into movement and researching in a way of why we call it research, because it's open. It's a playground of letting having different still different directions where it could go, and of course depending on the production, how much time you have. I allowed myself in that production, at least when we started, 2 weeks. To really play and be open and trying things out and putting it away or going deeper with things before we say, okay, that's the line, and that's then also with Sabine in feedback, hey, this is the dramaturgical line that we choose. So before we are kind of open, and before even the start with the dancers, we had this research that we call it a research in literature. We were watching movies, we were writing to you, we found you just by research and just by putting the apocalyptic ideas in Google or something like that. So we found different institutions, we found different people that we were connected to. And from that personal point of view where we started, we end up in a performance that is, I don't want to show a lot of personal stuff. We brought it to an abstract way, so we are going through a transformation. So it's not about she needs to show her personal stuff and her, like, there is a certain distance to it that we all want to keep also, because we don't want to expose people on stage. But we come from there, we use that to be nourished. That I don't want to show being overwhelmed. I want that you are overwhelmed when you're performing and not showing it. And so that's also what I believe artistically, then it transfers a certain emotion, a certain reaction in the public.
Yeah, and I think of course it's the background we're coming from, this very Caroline style also is the contemporary dance, but this is also a large field of different styles. And I think what we are coming from, our background is a lot of improvisation. So when we are during our education, we learned how to use different creative research to get out more quality of dance movement and just watching it. So watching the dancers improvising, and because it's you are the one outside who's choosing. I said, oh, this is interesting. There I can see how you are like compact with the movement. Yeah, and I can see, like, for Olivia, how is she really authentic in the movement, and where is it just to show you up, or just when she needs to more include this, just an example, right? To include more the spine to make it, or just give it a little reach in the head. So it's, how do you say, it's a lot of experience you need to be more clear about what you want to, where you want to go, to get this vulnerable quality of movement. And then you get it, and is there always rehearsals where you have to get it back in a there's subtext. Dancing in 10 times, 20 times, you lose a lot, because they're very used to repeat all that stuff, but how to get it fresh. And so this is something you've learned now too. It's so hard to relive the thing every evening on stage, and because we have so much compact and difficult movements and exhausting movements, I'm just full to have already 2 performances now. So the general rehearsal, which was public, and yesterday, and it's just amazing what you're doing all together there. And for me, it's like, I don't care, because people say, like if in the audience, it's something I thought I had. So, some people always ask, this I understood, there are so these people carrying okay, but this they're shivering. I don't know. I said, don't worry, were you concentrated? Were you in? Did you feel? My heart was going, and I was super. That's it. That's what we want. It's beyond understanding. It's a deeper skin we want to reach, and I think, we did it. I think it's a really interesting project for that.
And just to rebound on that, I think it's also that question of like research and what is interesting. And coming back to the question you asked before, what is this project for me? It's engaged. It's socially engaged, politically engaged, or artistically. Like, I like art when it's engaged through research, through like collaboration that might not be considered, as you said, like, we don't really mix art with science or that kind of things, but it's totally this. Art is all about research. Then you choose your own aesthetic, you have your own choices, choreography, so that's also something. And what is interesting is like, I like engaged art. Doesn't mean like you have to be revolutionary or like impose your ideas, but there is that will, that thing of research, basically.
Discussion.
Yes. And also the fact that at the end the idea is not to please the audience, but it's to engage the audience by making them feel. They don't have to understand. Like, I feel like a work is achieved when people discuss about it afterwards. They don't have to like it, but they remember it. And that's about engagement. That's opening that conversation. And that's also what is interesting, to open then a conversation with like the scientists at the end, like people. And I was asking you yesterday, why do we not put that conversation before? But then it's whatever the abstract, people like dance or not, whatever this might like unconsciously awaken something, and then they can open easier or not, but maybe it inspires their thoughts unconsciously to engage in that conversation. And then also what I really enjoyed hearing, and that I actually like realized, I was like, because the topic of apocalypse and everything, like, it's dark, it's like nothing is on the planet anymore. But then I remember in the conversation it was said like, people has different vision of what is apocalypse. It's there. It can be there already. It's past already for some people, and I never thought about that. And I was like, wow. Okay, I'm gonna remember. So it's very. That's also like something that you can think and like re-question of the definition of apocalypse, and then about all that work that was behind what we actually present also on stage. So it's. That's what is interesting in this project, is engaged. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you very much to all of you for your impressions and for your thoughts. And I think we just follow this thought we just talked about, and coming back to the original question that I did not pose, how soon is now? I guess the viewers have to decide themselves for themselves. So that being said, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.